Yep, it feels like you've been here before. And also, I know we've been trying to plan this for a while.
Yes, it's been a while, but we finally made it happen.
Yep. And in all my times connecting with you, I don't think I really heard your entire TEDx story. So that's why I'm really pumped about this interview because we have some history. So let's just start from the beginning. When did you decide that, you know what, I want to get on that TEDx stage? When did you decide that and what caused you to want to do that?
So I decided it a few years ago. However, I never took it seriously because back then I thought, TEDx is only a few people, a few selected people who can actually get on the TEDx stage. However, it was in spring of 2022 when I met somebody on LinkedIn who is also German, but he is up in Tennessee. And he was telling me that one of his goals for the year was to get on the TEDx stage. And I said to him, "That's interesting. Tell me more about it." And so he told me about his approach. He told me that he signed up with a company that coached him, and then when he stopped talking about it, he said to me, "You know what? You should do it too." With everything that you know about dogs and you're passionate about dogs, why don't you also apply for it? And I said to him, "You know what? I never even thought about it." And he said, I'd be happy to share anything with you, what I know. And that is really how it started. Hearing him and about his strategy of applying for a TEDx talk, and he actually was approved to speak on two TEDx stages that year. He was the inspiration that I applied for it.
Yeah, sometimes when you see someone do something, you can't unsee it, especially if it's
Yeah.
something that maybe you aspire to or want to do. And that was a lot of my journey was being there watching you on your talk because at that time I hadn't been on a TEDx stage and I was just watching and like soaking in all of this energy from all of these amazing people and you were one of them. So I'm grateful for you sharing your light that day because it also inspired me. Um, I did want to ask you
Thank
though,
you.
Iris. You're welcome. I did want to ask you, because I know you have a very unique topic, right? So, like, lots of people get on TEDx stages and sometimes they remix existing topics. Yours is very specific, very unique. Talk to me about the energy and bandwidth that it took to create a talk around your topic and maybe just talk a little bit about your topic.
So it was really interesting and really really good that I had only about 6 weeks to get ready for this talk because I did not get the approval that I was selected as a speaker until the end of January. So I'm sorry, it was 2 months, so maybe 8 weeks until again end of December, and the speech was on February the 25th of 2023. So it was about just 2 months. And in the first couple of weeks, as you may remember, we were asked to write a draft and send it to the organizer, and then I got feedback, and then I was assigned a coach, and then we set up a call that wasn't until I think it was the first meeting we had was on the 21st of January. And when he looked at my speech, he said to me, "This is way too broad. You have to be more specific. Scratch it and start all over again." And so I did that. And then we met again 2 weeks or 3 weeks after that. And he looked at it and he said, "It's better, but still not good enough. I mean, you can go even tighter and more specific." And then I made the last changes on it without getting any approval from the coach or any input from the coach. I just said, "All right, I got enough." And the good thing was I had about a week and a half to practice to get it all in. But that was the good piece about it. Now thinking back about it, because if I had had, let's say, 6 months for all of that, it would have stressed me out for 6 months. I had it only for 2 months. And again, the last week and a half, I had a bunch of pressure to really get it in my head, but it was not months agonizing about it, because as you know, sometimes we can be our worst critic.
Yep. And when you practiced the speech, did you memorize it word for word, or did you have like bullet points that made you tell say the speech based on the way you knew it?
Yeah, no, I practiced it and learned it word by word.
That is impressive. In a week and a half? Holy crap.
Well, I tell you what even happened, because I practiced at first. I memorized it, and then I practiced at home, always having the timer with me, making sure I was in the 15-minute limit. And I always stopped at around 14 minutes, something like that. And I was like, and a couple of times even at 13 minutes and a few seconds. And I thought, okay, that gives me at least a minute or 2 minutes for the buffer, so that I'm not going way over. And the day before the event, we had the rehearsal at the theater, and I lost my I lost it in the way of that. I was standing there and I was like, okay, I can't remember what comes next, and it felt like hours, but it was only a few seconds, I assume. I don't know. So I caught up, with my train of thought, finished it, and went to the guy in the back who was setting up the audio and the video. And I said, how long did it take me? And he said 20 minutes. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean,
That's crazy.
I thought it did not take me 5 minutes just to pick up my train of thought. So that evening we still, and I was like, I have to cut back more. I have to cut back more. So we had on that evening, we still had that what do you call it?
Dinner.
The reception. Yeah,
Reception,
and that
yep.
is where I met, and where you and I talked. And then I came home that night and I looked at my speech again and I cut out pieces and I said, okay, this can go and this can go and I can cut this one out. And then I thought, oh boy, but what happens if this happens to me tomorrow again? And in that moment, I really just decided, I said, you know what? If I'm going to lose my train of thought during the speech, then this was not the message for the audience. Then all I have to do is just surrender, and whatever comes through me in that moment, allow that to come through me, and trust that this is the message that the audience needs to hear. And once I see the sign in the back that says time is up, just find a way to wrap it up. And that is how I went into that performance that morning.
But when you got on stage and gave your talk, it was the scripted talk. You didn't have to
It
let
was.
the message flow through you, because did you actually remove those parts too when you?
I did.
Wow, that is like I've talked to a bunch of. I think this is episode. You're probably going to be episode 15 or 16. I've done a few solo episodes too, but I've at least interviewed 12 folks. I don't think anyone has a story where it was that close to the actual event that they found out that their talk was approved, but also that they made edits the night before. So that's fascinating. Yeah, I would say this about the rehearsal, the onstage rehearsal. For my rehearsal, I was practicing word for word, Iris. I felt really good about it, and because of my location, I'm super close to Gas South Arena. So I would go to the venue and stand outside of the venue and rehearse my talks on camera just so I could get the vibe. So I felt really good about it. Then I got to Gas South for the for the rehearsal, and this man came on the stage with like a television set. Like he was rolling a television set on. So I'm giving my talk, and then this thing comes up, and I'm like, oh, like what? I'm like, this threw me off. And I ended up putting my talk out of order. So no one knew, but I knew. And after that
Yeah.
night, Iris, I just ran that thing over and over. I drilled it for that was the only part of the talk that I practiced the night before, so I can relate. So now you're on stage, you give the talk. I know you were probably like nervous because of all of these changes. Talk to me about walking off stage. What was that like? Was there like a sense of relief? Talk to me about your feelings after getting off the stage.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was a sense of relief, and I was initially I was glad that I was also the first speaker right after Daryl. Right, so Daryl gave the introduction, and I believe he gave his speech, and then after that it was me. But I was the official first um, speaker, invited speaker, and I was glad at the time that I was the first because I thought, all right, in that way I can go out, do my thing, and then I can relax and enjoy the rest of the speakers. And that was really the nice part about it. Yes, of course, I was really relieved. I was relieved that it went well. I was relieved that I trusted myself. And yeah, I mean as that is a good feeling.
Yes. So I want to unpack the going first piece because when we were in the process of like finding out our order, I emailed the organizers and I was like, "Hey, if possible, I'd like to go as early as possible if I can go first."
Mm.
And for that reason, Iris, I didn't want to be pacing back and forth for 5 hours. And also, I didn't want to like come to the venue later. I wanted to
Mm.
enjoy the entire event. So, talk to me about that. Do you think that first time TEDx speakers should request to go first if they can?
Well, it all depends on how people, what works better for them. For some people, they may need to hear things. They may need some time to settle first, and they may be also more, what do you call it, there may not be morning people, right? Because I mean we had to be there at 8 in the morning. It started, I believe, at 9 or 9:15. The disadvantage that I had at the time is number one is it was the first time TEDx Alexander Park had their first event, and there were not as many people invited. And not only that, early in the morning, people were still trickling in for the first speech. So there were not that many people in the audience. So, that I would say was the disadvantage. Versus in the afternoon, the room filled up, there were more people, the energy was completely different at that time. So again, I would say it's important for the speaker to assess for themselves what works best for them, so that they really optimize their performance.
Very nice. Very nice. So, after TEDx, what has life been like for you after TEDx? Has it impacted your career, any opportunities that have presented themselves, or even on a personal level, have you experienced any changes or transformations?
So, number one is obviously it was a nice accomplishment for myself to be on the stage, to do well, and also to have my speech be published, because I even learned that not all speeches are getting published on the TEDx channel. So that by itself is an accomplishment. Um, has it I use my TEDx talk to build credibility. So when I talk with event planners or with leaders in companies, and they want to bring a training into their organization around leadership development, then I always use my TEDx talk and the YouTube video as a way to build credibility, and for them also to see what my message is about. Um, the organizer gave us a lot of good tips on how to maximize and the PR on our TEDx talk. And I followed his advice, and I also hired a PR person. But that was the wrong move for me. This person was not very active. And I should have known it right from the beginning in the way of that she was very slow to respond, and really, I could have saved myself that money. Nothing came out of that. So again, I believe, if or when I do it again, I would definitely focus more on the post event production and PR and communication to really spread the message further and really create the impact that my message really deserves.
Very good, very good. So now, for you mentioned that the next talk you do, is that something you're actively pursuing? Are you applying? And if so, what tips would you provide to folks who are also trying to apply for TED Talks right now?
So, no, I'm not currently applying or even have a topic in mind. If I will, or when I ever will do it again, it will definitely be a topic around dogs, that's for sure, and dogs and leadership. And, what I have learned from my friend Michael, who shared with me what he learned from his coaching, was really that, if you want to apply for this, have a system in place, make it a strategy, apply on a regular basis, and make it a habit of sending out your applications to several event planners. Be patient. And I think he said it takes about 50 or how many applications sometimes
Wow.
for somebody to get approved. So it's not just apply once and you immediately get accepted. That is really more the exception, but really be patient, have a system in place to make it easy for yourself so that you can almost like automate it in the way of, what he taught me is put all of your application answers into one document, into one Word document. And as you're going through the Google Forms and fill out the applications, they are all very similar so that you can just cut and paste. Another thing he said is just go on the website and look at all of the events that are in your area and make a spreadsheet around this so that you really look at all of the stages that you want to apply. Now, for me, it was easier because I also knew some people in here in Atlanta who organized TEDx events before. And I don't know whether my name was shared in that way or not, but I also believe, and that at least was my experience, the reasons why I was selected too was because I have given a lot to the community in the past. I have been an active volunteer. I have been, when people needed help, I'm always the one who raised my hand and said, yeah, I can help you, especially around dogs, right? And I was active and have been active in the dog and rescue community for a long time. And I believe, that was probably also the reason why it was easy for me to get on the stage here in the town or in the area where I live because of what I have given in the past.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Iris, we're grateful for your work that you're doing in this community. I'm here in the area, so I'm grateful for you, and also I'm grateful for you taking a little bit of time out of your day to share some of your light with us. I want to save some time to give you the floor. If there are any causes or any projects that you're working on that you want to direct people to, the floor is yours. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so obviously, my focus always is on the dog rescue world. And, yeah, right now that industry is going through a crisis again. There are many animals and dogs and cats that are in shelters that will never find their forever home because many people are not adopting dogs from shelters right now, or many people are currently having dogs so that they don't need to adopt another one. So, that is really a crisis that we are having in this country. And so, with that, of course, there's a lot of burnout in rescue groups. The volunteer engagement is low. So that is one of the areas where I focus on, is helping rescue groups with their volunteer engagement, providing workshops, teaching them leadership principles so that they are staying calm, collected, and at peace while they are going through this crisis. So, again, my wish for the community really is if you have room and the time for an animal, please go to an animal shelter or a rescue group, adopt a pet from there. And because these dogs and cats, they need somebody who will save them.
Amazing. Iris, thank you so much. And this is our first season for the show, so we hope to have you on in the future, okay?
Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.